Imagine walking alone through a forest at night. The canopy above blocks the moonlight and every step feels uncertain. Your heart races, your breath quickens, and your senses sharpen. You're not just imagining things, your body is reacting to the darkness. This experience, familiar to many, is rooted in physiology. When we confront darkness, two key processes unfold: the fear response and visual adaptation. The fear response prepares us to face potential threats, while visual adaptation allows us to see in low light. Together, these mechanisms help us navigate and survive in dark environments. But how exactly does our body achieve this? Why does darkness trigger such a strong reaction? And how do our eyes adjust to the absence of light? In this script, we'll explore the science behind these phenomena, delving into the sympathetic nervous system, the role of hormones like adrenaline, and the intricate workings of our eyes. By understanding these processes, we can better appreciate how our bodies are equipped to confront the challenges of darkness. Let's begin by examining the fear response and why darkness amplifies our sense of uncertainty. When we find ourselves in the dark, especially in unfamiliar settings, our body's fear response kicks in. This reaction is governed by the sympathetic nervous system, a branch of the autonomic nervous system responsible for the fight-or-flight response. Darkness inherently limits our ability to see, which our brain interprets as a potential threat. In response, the amygdala, a region of the brain involved in processing emotions, signals the hypothalamus to activate the sympathetic nervous system. This triggers a cascade of physiological changes designed to prepare us for danger. Our heart rate increases, pumping more blood to our muscles. Our breathing becomes rapid and shallow, ensuring a steady supply of oxygen. Our pupils dilate to let in more light, and our senses become hyper-alert, picking up on the slightest sounds or movements. These changes are automatic and instinctual, evolved over millennia to help us survive in environments where visibility is compromised. Darkness, by its very nature, amplifies uncertainty. Our brain knows that predators or obstacles could be lurking, unseen. This uncertainty heightens our fear, making the physiological response even more pronounced. But fear isn't the only way our body confronts darkness. Our eyes also play a crucial role. As we grapple with the fear of the unknown, our eyes begin to adapt to the low-light conditions through a process called dark adaptation. This is a remarkable physiological mechanism that allows us to see better in the dark over time. When we first enter a dark environment, our vision is poor, but within minutes our eyes adjust, and we can start to make out shapes and objects. This adaptation occurs in two main stages: the initial rapid adjustment of the pupils and the slower, more complex changes in the retina. First, our pupils dilate almost immediately, allowing more light to enter the eye. This is a reflexive response controlled by the iris muscles. However, this alone isn't enough for us to see clearly in very low light. The second stage involves the retina, specifically the rod cells, which are responsible for our night vision. Unlike cone cells, which detect color and function best in bright light, rod cells are highly sensitive to dim light. As we spend more time in the dark, these rod cells become increasingly active, enhancing our ability to detect faint light and movement. But there's more to this process. The key to dark adaptation lies in a pigment called rhodopsin, found in the rod cells. Rhodopsin is extremely sensitive to light and plays a crucial role in our ability to see in low-light conditions. When light hits rhodopsin, it breaks down into its component parts, a process known as bleaching, which allows us to perceive light. However, in bright light, most of the rhodopsin is bleached, leaving our rod cells less effective. In darkness, the opposite happens. Rhodopsin regenerates, increasing the sensitivity of the rod cells. This regeneration is a slow process, taking up to 30 minutes for full adaptation. That's why, when we first enter a dark room, we struggle to see, but gradually our vision improves. Interestingly, even a brief exposure to bright light can reverse this process, bleaching the rhodopsin and forcing our eyes to start over. This is why, for example, turning on a light in a dark room can temporarily blind us. Dark adaptation is a delicate and intricate process, finely tuned to help us confront and navigate low-light environments. But how does this tie back to the fear response? The fear response and visual adaptation are interconnected in fascinating ways. When we first enter a dark environment, our fear response is at its peak because our vision is impaired, heightening our sense of vulnerability. However, as our eyes adapt and we begin to see more clearly, the fear often subsides. This is because the brain relies heavily on visual input to assess threats. When we can see our surroundings, even dimly, our brain can better evaluate whether there's actual danger or if it's safe to relax. In other words, visual adaptation helps mitigate the fear response by reducing uncertainty. This interplay between fear and vision is a testament to how our body systems work together to confront challenges. However, not everyone experiences this in the same way. Some individuals have conditions like anwactophobia, an intense fear of the dark, which can override the calming effect of visual adaptation. Others may have impaired dark adaptation due to conditions like night blindness, where the rod cells don't function properly. These variations remind us that while our bodies are equipped to handle darkness, individual differences can influence how effectively we confront it. To fully appreciate the significance of these physiological processes, it's helpful to consider real-world applications. For example, soldiers, explorers, and even astronomers often need to operate in low-light conditions. Understanding and training for dark adaptation is crucial in these fields. Soldiers may use red light to preserve their night vision, as red wavelengths are less likely to bleach rhodopsin. Explorers navigating caves or dense forests rely on their body's natural ability to adapt to darkness, often carrying minimal light sources to avoid disrupting this process. Similarly, astronomers must allow their eyes to fully adapt to darkness to observe faint celestial objects. These examples highlight how the physiology of fear and visual adaptation isn't just theoretical. It has practical implications for how we interact with our environment. Moreover, understanding these processes can help us manage everyday situations, like driving at night or walking through a dark house. By recognizing that our fear is a natural response and that our eyes will adjust, we can approach darkness with greater confidence. But what happens when darkness isn't just a temporary condition? How does our body respond to prolonged periods of low light? In some regions of the world, such as the Arctic during polar night, darkness can last for weeks or even months. While our bodies are equipped to handle short-term darkness, prolonged exposure can have different effects. For instance, the lack of natural light can disrupt our circadian rhythms, leading to sleep disturbances and mood changes, including conditions like seasonal affective disorder, SAD. However, even in these extreme conditions, our eyes continue to adapt. People living in these regions often report that their night vision improves over time, allowing them to navigate and function in near-constant darkness. This suggests that our visual adaptation mechanisms can be enhanced with prolonged exposure. On the flip side, the fear response may also adapt. While initial exposure to prolonged darkness can be unsettling, over time, the brain may habituate to the environment, reducing the intensity of the fear response. This adaptability showcases the resilience of our physiological systems. However, it's important to note that these adaptations have limits, and prolonged darkness can still pose significant challenges to our mental and physical health. Another fascinating aspect of confronting darkness is how it affects our other senses. When vision is impaired, our brain compensates by heightening our auditory and tactile senses. This is why, in the dark, we might jump at the slightest sound or feel more sensitive to touch. This phenomenon, known as sensory compensation, is a survival mechanism that allows us to gather more information from our environment when visual input is limited. For example, in complete darkness, we might rely on the sound of footsteps or the feel of a wall to navigate. This heightened awareness can also amplify the fear response, as every unfamiliar sound or sensation is interpreted as a potential threat. However, as our eyes adapt and we begin to see more clearly, this reliance on other senses diminishes, and our fear often subsides. This interplay between the senses further illustrates how our body works as an integrated system to confront the challenges of darkness. It also highlights the importance of vision as our primary sense for assessing and navigating our surroundings. Let's now take a closer look at the hormones involved in the fear response. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated in response to darkness, two key hormones are released: adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline, also known as epinephrine, is responsible for the immediate physical changes we experience, such as increased heart rate, dilated pupils, and heightened alertness. These changes prepare us to either confront or flee from a perceived threat. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone, is released more gradually and helps sustain the body's heightened state of arousal. While these hormones are essential for survival, prolonged exposure to them can have negative effects, such as increased anxiety or difficulty sleeping. This is why, in situations where darkness is persistent, such as during a power outage or in a poorly lit environment, our body's stress response can become overwhelming. Understanding the role of these hormones can help us manage our reactions to darkness. For instance, practicing relaxation techniques like deep breathing can counteract the effects of adrenaline and cortisol, helping us stay calm even when our vision is impaired. While the fear response and visual adaptation are universal physiological processes, they can vary significantly between individuals. Some people are more prone to fear in the dark due to past experiences or genetic predispositions. For example, individuals with a history of trauma in dark environments may experience heightened anxiety when confronted with similar conditions. On the other hand, some people have a natural ability to adapt quickly to low light, while others may struggle due to conditions like retinitis pigmentosa, a genetic disorder that affects the rod cells. Age also plays a role. As we get older, our eyes' ability to adapt to darkness diminishes, making it harder to see in low light. Additionally, certain medications or health conditions can impair dark adaptation. These individual differences remind us that while our bodies are generally equipped to handle darkness, the experience can be quite different from one person to another. This variability also underscores the importance of empathy and understanding when helping others navigate dark or unfamiliar environments. Now let's explore how we can train our bodies to better confront darkness. Just as athletes train for physical challenges, we can improve our ability to handle low-light conditions. One effective method is to practice spending time in progressively darker environments, allowing our eyes to adapt gradually. This can enhance our dark adaptation speed and efficiency. For example, before entering a dark room, we can spend a few minutes in a dimly lit area to kickstart the adaptation process. Another technique is to avoid looking directly at bright lights, as even a brief exposure can reset the adaptation process. Using red-tinted glasses or lights can also help preserve night vision, as red light has a longer wavelength and is less likely to bleach rhodopsin. Additionally, managing the fear response through mindfulness or visualization techniques can reduce anxiety in dark settings. By imagining ourselves successfully navigating the dark, we can build confidence and reduce the intensity of the fear response. These strategies can be particularly useful for professions that require frequent exposure to low-light conditions, such as night shift workers or emergency responders. It's also worth noting that technology has played a significant role in helping us confront darkness. From the invention of fire to modern-day night vision goggles, humans have long sought ways to illuminate or adapt to dark environments. However, while technology can be a valuable tool, it's important to remember that our bodies are naturally equipped to handle darkness. Over-reliance on artificial light can actually hinder our natural adaptation processes. For instance, excessive exposure to bright screens before bed can disrupt our circadian rhythms and impair our ability to adapt to darkness. Similarly, in environments where artificial light is unavailable, such as during a power outage, our natural physiological responses become crucial. This highlights the importance of maintaining a balance between leveraging technology and allowing our bodies to adapt naturally. By understanding and respecting our physiological capabilities, we can make better use of both natural and artificial resources to confront darkness effectively. Let's now consider the evolutionary perspective on these physiological responses. Why did our bodies evolve to react to darkness in this way? The answer lies in survival. For our ancestors, darkness often meant increased danger. Predators were more active at night, and the risk of injury from unseen obstacles was higher. The fear response, with its heightened alertness and physical readiness, helped our ancestors stay vigilant and react quickly to threats. Similarly, visual adaptation allowed them to hunt, gather, or navigate during twilight or moonlit nights, providing a competitive advantage. Over time, these traits were selected for, becoming ingrained in our physiology. Today, while we may not face the same predators, the fear of darkness persists because it's hardwired into our biology. This evolutionary lens helps us understand why, even in modern, relatively safe environments, we still experience fear in the dark. It also explains why our eyes are so adept at adapting to low light, because for much of human history, seeing in the dark was a matter of life and death. Interestingly, not all animals respond to darkness in the same way. Some species, like cats and owls, have evolved superior night vision, with larger pupils and a higher concentration of rod cells. These adaptations allow them to thrive in low-light conditions, making them effective nocturnal hunters. Humans, by contrast, are diurnal creatures, meaning we're naturally adapted to daylight. Our night vision, while functional, is not as advanced as that of nocturnal animals. However, our ability to experience fear in the dark may have compensated for this limitation by encouraging caution and vigilance. This trade-off, poorer night vision but a strong fear response, may have helped our ancestors avoid unnecessary risks at night. Understanding these differences can deepen our appreciation for the unique ways in which humans have evolved to confront darkness. It also highlights the remarkable adaptability of our physiology, even if it's not as specialized as that of other species. As we wrap up this exploration, it's clear that confronting darkness is not just a metaphor for facing challenges, it's a physiological reality. Our bodies are equipped with sophisticated mechanisms to handle low-light conditions, from the immediate fear response that prepares us for danger to the gradual process of visual adaptation that allows us to see in the dark. These processes are interconnected, with visual adaptation helping to mitigate fear by reducing uncertainty. While individual differences and external factors can influence how we experience darkness, the underlying physiology remains consistent. By understanding these mechanisms, we can better appreciate the resilience of the human body and approach dark environments with greater confidence. Whether we're navigating a dark forest, adjusting to a dimly lit room, or simply walking through our homes at night, our physiology is working tirelessly to help us confront the darkness. So the next time you find yourself in the dark, remember, your body is already equipped to face the challenge. While the eyes capture light, the brain is the master interpreter, especially in dim conditions. When light strikes the retina, photoreceptors, rods, and cones convert it into electrical signals sent through the optic nerve to the visual cortex in the occipital lobe. In darkness, with scant visual input, the brain ramps up its efforts. The visual cortex merges data from both eyes, sharpening depth perception and outlining shapes or motion. Beyond raw data, the brain employs memory and context, a process called perceptual completion. For instance, knowing a room's layout lets you see furniture in near blackness. This mental filling in is vital when rod cells alone can't provide a full picture. In low light, the brain also heightens alertness, tying into the fear response by scanning for threats. This teamwork between eye and brain shows that confronting darkness isn't just about physical adaptation, it's a cognitive feat. By processing limited signals with past knowledge, the brain transforms murky shadows into recognizable forms, easing our unease. This intricate interplay reveals the sophistication of our visual system, proving that surviving the dark demands more than keen eyes. It requires a sharp mind. Children often dread the dark, a fear tied to both physiology and growth. Early on, their visual system is still developing. Rod cells, key for night vision, gain sensitivity over years, leaving young eyes less adept in low light. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the brain's fear hub, runs at high gear in kids, amplifying reactions to the unknown. Darkness, with its vague outlines, sparks wild imaginings of lurking dangers, from monsters to shadows. This isn't mere fancy. Their bodies mirror adult fight-or-flight responses, racing hearts, shallow breaths, rooted in real physiology. Yet as they age, visual adaptation strengthens, and the brain learns to sift real threats from fantasy. This maturation often softens their dread, as emotional control grows alongside sharper night vision. For parents, grasping this can guide support. Gentle exposure to dark settings or comforting routines can build bravery. Unlike adults, whose fear may stem from experience, kids' reactions blend biology and innocence, making their journey through darkness a unique challenge. Understanding this developmental dance not only demystifies their fears, but also highlights how our bodies evolve to master the night. How we face darkness isn't just biological. Culture and psychology shape it too. Many societies link darkness to peril or the supernatural. Tales of night-dwelling spirits or predators condition us to tense up after sunset. Psychologically, darkness embodies the unknown, a primal trigger for fear as our brains brace for hidden risks. This unease spikes our physiological responses, dilated pupils, quickened pulses, mirroring survival instincts. Yet not all cultures dread the dark. Some view it as sacred, a time for calm or insight, potentially dialing down fear's intensity. Picture two people in identical shadows. One, raised on ghost stories, feels dread. Another, taught to embrace night's quiet, stays serene. This shows how mindset tweaks our body's reactions. Physiology sets the stage. Rising adrenaline, straining eyes, but culture and belief direct the play. The fear of what we can't see drives our responses, yet positive framing might soften them. This blend of external influence and internal wiring complicates our dance with darkness, suggesting that conquering it isn't just about seeing better. It's about rethinking what the shadows hold. Night vision varies widely, shaped by genetics, age, and health. Some inherit denser rod cells or faster rhodopsin renewal, granting them eagle-like sight in the dark. Others aren't so lucky. Aging stiffens the eye's lens and thins rod cells, slowing adaptation. Health hiccups like diabetes or vitamin A shortages can harm the retina, dimming rhodopsin's glow and dulling night vision. Medications narrowing pupils add another hurdle, blocking light's entry. Take night blindness, nyctalopia, faulty rods, whether from birth or diseases like retinitis pigmentosa, leave some groping in gloom where others stride confidently. These quirks matter when confronting darkness. A genetically gifted hiker might spot trails at dusk, while an older adult stumbles. Solutions vary. Diet tweaks for deficiencies, glasses for clarity, or brighter paths for the impaired. This diversity calls for tailored approaches, from medical fixes to smarter designs, ensuring everyone navigates the dark. It's a reminder, our shared physiology bends to individual blueprints, making night's challenge personal. By decoding these differences, we can adapt our world and ourselves to meet darkness head-on, no matter our starting point. Knowing how fear and vision dance with darkness can transform our daily grind. Architects can craft homes and streets with soft, warm lights to soothe nerves, or place guiding beams where shadows pool, easing navigation. Night shift bosses might dim lights gradually or use red bulbs, preserving workers' rod cell readiness instead of jarring them with glare. At home during blackouts, patience pays. Waiting out adaptation beats flailing in panic as eyes adjust and fear ebbs. Drivers can lean on this too. Slower speeds and high beams, used smartly, offset night vision's limits. These tweaks stem from physiology, how pupils widen, how rhodopsin rebuilds, and tame our instinctive jolts. Imagine a city designed with dark adaptation in mind. Fewer accidents, calmer nerves, or personal habits, like avoiding screens before bed to keep circadian clocks ticking right. By weaving science into life, we turn darkness from foe to familiar. It's not just survival, it's comfort, safety, efficiency. Whether planning a building or facing a moonless night, this knowledge empowers us to meet the dark not as victims, but as masters of our own biology.